If you're ready to supercharge your life and engage that personal growth healing process you've been dreaming of, I have a wonderful resource for you that I will be talking about in depth today. My new book, The Radiant Life Project. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Sometimes the process of inner healing and growth can feel really intimidating. Maybe you've done some therapy or coaching work. Maybe you are a self help book enthusiast. Wherever you come from on this journey of healing and inner growth, I commend you for doing this work because it is one of my true beliefs that in order to impact the world at large, we must first begin by doing our own work, by healing the wounds that we've acquired through life, by looking at the patterns that we engage that keep us stuck and unhealed, by checking out our relationship dynamics and trying to figure out what is off base and misaligned there. There's so much work to be done. And so today I'll be talking to you about my brand new book, The Radiant Life Project: Awaken Your Purpose, Heal Your Past, and Transform Your Future. As I was thinking about how to share this with you today in a concise yet informative way, I thought maybe it would be a good idea to just run through each of the chapters and let you know on a high level what each chapter is about so that you can really inquire about whether this is a good fit for where you are on your personal development journey. Now, I want to tell you ahead of time, there's nothing more annoying to me than a self-help or personal growth book that just circles around the same topics over and over. You get the topic in chapter 1 or 2, and 6 or 8 chapters later, you're thinking to yourself, I'm ready for something new. Stop beating the same topic into the ground. So it was very intentional for me when I was writing the Radiant Life Project to not do that to you as a reader. Instead, this book is packed to the brim, full of teachings, resources, clinical observations, experience from my over 15 years as a clinical psychotherapist and a board certified art therapist, as well as some humble learnings and gems I have picked up from my own transformative inner work journey of the past 25 plus years of really doing my own deep dive into healing my own trauma, exploring my own purpose and my own path. So this book offers a synergy of everything from art therapy and creativity to neuroscience and information about the nervous system to internal family systems therapy and other psychotherapeutic modalities for healing and growth. It even talks about Buddhist psychology and Buddhist mythology with some really spectacular stories and parables that I think is going to bring home the concepts for you. So without further ado, I'm going to talk to you about each of the chapters. Very, very early on in the book, I talk about the definitions of radiant so that you understand what my intention is with calling this the Radiant Life Project. It is a project unlike any other. You are your life's biggest and most meaningful project, and it's ongoing from the day of your birth until you exhale your last breath. So I share a couple of definitions from different dictionaries about what radiant means on the large scale, and then I tell you some of my own definitions of how I am operating from an understanding of what it means to be radiant. Then we go into the introduction where I share with you the vulnerable story of my own profound clinical burnout that happened at the beginning of the COVID pandemic and how it catapulted me into a 5-month sabbatical where I inquired deeply inside myself, took a look at what wasn't working in my life, and created the Radiant Life Project in sort of a process of inner alchemy and transformation that I explain in that introduction. Chapter 1 is called The Quest for Authenticity, Seeking a Fresh Face in a Sea of Masks. This chapter about authenticity talks about why it's so important to operate from a perspective of what feels real for you and authentic and connected to the essence of your true self, especially in a society, a culture, and a global world of people who really don't value the true self and what I call the true north compass. This kind of piggybacks into chapter 2, which is called Culture, What We've Been Spoon Fed All Our Lives. And I talk about how our culture has different narratives that we are all operating under, belief systems and values that may or may not be aligned with that authentic self of who you truly are. We are products of our culture, but we don't necessarily have to perpetuate the teachings and the narratives that come through cultural undertones and overculture into our experience. I address hustle culture and the refusal to rest, as well as sort of selling out our authentic selves and coming back into contact with who you are, even though you may be surrounded by people who are quite different and have many different values. Chapter 3 is called Nurturance and Deep Rest: The What, When, and How. Here, I talk more about hustle culture and burnout. I talk about how it has become an epic problem in our societies and how you can really nurture the need for rest, rejuvenation, and really strengthening your engagement with life by connecting back into the natural cadence you have in your body by being part of nature, like the waves that ebb and flow, the moon that waxes and wanes, and you as a human being who needs rest and rejuvenation to balance your productivity and your fast-paced life in this modern day. Chapter 4 is called Healing: A Journey Within. In this chapter, I talk a lot about the things that wound us and snag us throughout the lifespan, some of the early childhood trauma experiences that might be really derailing for your stability and your functioning, and they may stick with you through the lifespan. I talk about so many different modalities of how to meet the need for healing your mind, body, and heart in this chapter. I reference the nervous system and polyvagal theory, which I explain in detail and help you understand that when you are able to soothe your nervous system from that baseline level, you are so much more able to move through your life from a resourced, strong, and capable place where you can encounter what life throws at you, because yes, it's unpredictable and always changing. Chapter 5 is called Meaningful Growth: Inner Work at its Finest. This is where I talk about the growth journey and how to heal those wounds from the previous chapter with specific treatment modalities, practices, resources, and tools. I talk in this chapter a lot about internal family systems therapy, which is sometimes referred to as parts work or parts psychology. So I give a deep dive into this modality. I also talk about how to heal the brain and how to use some of your inner workings to rewire them in ways that benefit you and strengthen your resolve to move forward in your life from a growth mindset and a perspective of strength and healing. Chapter 6 is called Ancestral Trauma, Epigenetics, and Lineage Patterns. This is a really exciting chapter. It talks about your very DNA and cellular structure, as well as the lineage and ancestry of the people who came before you in your family line and the descendants who will come after you, and all of the factors that connect you physically, emotionally, psychologically, even behaviorally with people who came before and after you. This is a chapter that gets a little sciencey. I do talk about DNA expression and epigenetics, but not too much. So don't get freaked out by that if you're not a science geek like me. I also just talk about ancestral healing and the way that you can become a cycle breaker, what that means, and how you can really step into healing your lineage backwards and forwards from yourself. Chapter 7 is called The Stories We Tell Ourselves. This is all about narratives. Narratives are related to our core beliefs. They are the things that we think kind of in the background on a low level of static noise about our worth, the world we live in, our place in it, and sometimes our narratives are really outdated. Sometimes they're counterproductive or maladaptive. So in this chapter, I help you work with your thoughts. This is all about reorienting your thinking, rewiring your brain, and starting to have a better sense of control and a real conscious relationship with what is happening in your mental space to help you connect more to your body, to your relationships, and to the greater flow of your life. Chapter 8 talks about a theory that I developed myself. It's called Sharks in the Bathtub, the tough cookies of your psyche. Just for the sake of suspense, I'm not going to tell you too much about it. I would love for you to read it yourself. However, I will tell you that sharks are the persistent issues in your life that don't seem to go away no matter how much therapy or reading or inner work you do. These are those persistent issues that stick around. And bathtubs are the containment structures that you build to keep your functioning together and to deal with those sharks and the way that they flood your system. I hope you like this, and actually I'd really love to hear from you in the comments if you get to chapter 8, how you like the theory of sharks in the bathtub. Chapter 9 is called Integrity and Alignment, our relationship with the truth. So as I mentioned on authenticity in the beginning, I define authenticity as what is real, and I define integrity as what is true. So chapter 9 talks all about how to realign with what's true for you, not just from a level of honesty, but from a real core essential level of what you believe, who you are at that core essence, and what feels like the true direction for your purpose, the meaning in your life, the connections you facilitate with others, and also a really deep dive into your connection with self. I love this chapter. It's one of my favorites. Integrity is a really deep and profound topic that I love to explore. Now, chapter 10 is my creativity chapter. It's where I use my art therapy knowledge, and I even share some images in chapter 10 to depict the process of creativity and how it can unfold in the healing process. Chapter 10 is called Making Stuff, What Creativity's Got to Do with It. Chapter 11, the last chapter before the epilogue, is called Wholeness and Self-Led Living, Making the Shift. This chapter rounds out the book by helping you see yourself as a whole integrated being on mind, body, and heart levels. It really brings home the topics from the book, and it teaches you some new teachings that are my own theories, some of the things I've learned in my practice working with clients, and it really helps to give you some applicable tools for how to move forward in your healing journey as a unified, holistic self that has many different facets and parts, but ultimately is all you with a capital Y. Next, I talk about just the gratitude of this experience that I learned in my sabbatical, my burnout journey, and how I integrate and use all of these teachings in the epilogue. It's very short, and it just essentially says goodbye and helps you to understand and integrate that these learnings are layers of teachings and offerings that happen over time, to be patient with yourself, to be kind along the way, and to know that whatever you are working through right now, you are absolutely not alone. There are communities and supportive people all around who are cheering for you along the way and here to support. Now, throughout the entire book, I have what are called offerings. These are little practical pieces of advice, little practices that you can take to your journal, to your sketchbook, in conversation with your therapist or your loved ones that help you practice these teachings in real time. They're the applicable kind of how-to things that you can grab onto and work on. So that is the rundown of my book. All the chapters I hope you'll read it. I hope you love it. I hope you'll share it with your friends and your loved ones. And please do let me know how the book resonates with you. I love hearing from you, either here in the comments or on my website, theradiantlifeproject.com. Thank you so much for supporting this work, and I hope you love the book.